The pain hits me the moment I try to stretch my wing, and I bite down on the sound before it can escape my throat. 3 days now. 3 days of hiding a crack that runs through the bone like a fault line, and if Daniel finds out, I do not know what happens next. I am curled behind the water tanks on the lower deck when I hear his boots on the metal grating above me. Fast steps, worried steps. He is calling my name, and every part of me wants to answer, wants to crawl out and let him scoop me up the way he always does, but I press myself flatter into the shadows instead. If he sees the wing, he will know. And if he knows, he might decide I am too much trouble. Too broken. A problem for someone else to solve. I am not supposed to exist. My egg came off a wrecked cargo hauler 2 years ago, tucked inside a crate marked for disposal, and the only reason I hatched at all is because the station's cooling system made a mistake it was never supposed to make. Daniel was the one who found me. He was an engineer then, nothing more. A quiet man with tired eyes, who was supposed to hand my egg over to the science division and forget about it. He didn't. He kept me in his own quarters, fed me from his own rations, and when the officials came asking questions, he told them I was under observation, that he was documenting my development for the colony records. That was true, in a way. He documented everything. Every inch I grew, every new color that came into my scales. But underneath the paperwork, something else was happening, something the forms never mentioned. He was becoming my father. I press my claws into the cold floor and listen to him move closer. My heart is pounding so hard, I am certain he can hear it through the tank behind me. 3 days ago, I was chasing a firefly moth along the transport ledge, the one place on this station he has told me 100 times not to climb, because the railing is old and the drop below it is not. I did not listen. I never listen when there is something small and glowing just out of reach. My foot slipped on the wet metal, and for one long moment, there was nothing under me at all. I remember the snap before I remember the pain. A sound like a dry branch breaking, sharp and final, somewhere deep inside my left wing. Then the ground came up fast, and I hit the lower platform hard enough to knock the breath clean out of me. I did not cry out. I do not know why. Maybe some old instinct told me that an injured thing draws attention it cannot survive, and even though nothing here has ever hunted me, the fear in my blood did not know that yet. Since then, I have kept the wing folded tight, walked with a careful tilt so he would not notice the way I favor one side, and told him I was simply tired whenever he asked why I was not flying laps around the cargo bay like I usually do every evening before he cooks dinner. He believed me for 2 days. Today, he did not. The footsteps stop right above the tank. I hold perfectly still, the way I have practiced with him 100 times during our hiding games, except this time it is not a game, and my heart will not slow down, no matter how hard I try to quiet it. Then his voice comes, low and steady, not angry, not even loud. I know you are down there. I do not move. I do not answer. I have known something was wrong since yesterday morning, he says. You have not touched your favorite spot on the observation deck in 3 days. You wince every time you shift your left side, and you have been sleeping with your wing pressed flat against the wall instead of curled around yourself the way you always do. I close my eyes. Of course he noticed. He always notices. I am not angry, he says, and his voice softens even further. I am scared, because you did not come to me. That is what scares me. Not whatever is wrong with your wing, the fact that you hit it. The words land somewhere deep in my chest, somewhere under the fear, and for the first time in 3 days I feel the shame of it fully. Not the shame of being hurt, the shame of thinking I had to face it alone. I crawl out from behind the tank. The movement pulls at the brake, and this time, I cannot stop the sound that comes out of me, sharp and small and helpless. Daniel is already moving before I finish making it, dropping to his knees on the cold floor, his hands hovering just above my sides like he is afraid to touch me wrong. Show me, he says. I do not want to. Even now, with the truth already out in the open between us. Some small animal part of me is still whispering that if I keep it hidden a little longer, maybe it will heal on its own, and none of this will have mattered. But his eyes are steady, and they are the same eyes that looked at a station official 4 months ago and told her, without raising his voice even once, that I was not a specimen and never would be. I unfold the wing. It is worse than I thought. The joint sits at an angle that should not be possible, and the scales along the break have gone a dull, sickly color, drained of the copper shine that usually catches the light. Daniel makes a sound low in his throat, something between a wince and a breath he has been holding for 3 days without knowing it. "How long?" he asks again, quieter this time. 3 days, I tell him, and my voice comes out smaller than I want it to. "Since the ledge." "You fell from the ledge," he says, and it is not a question. It is a realization settling into place, connecting the pieces he must have been turning over in his mind since yesterday. I nod, and the shame comes rushing back, hot and heavy. "I am sorry. I know I am not supposed to climb there. I did not want you to know I got hurt because I broke the rule, and because I thought, maybe—" I cannot finish the sentence. It is too big, too frightening to say out loud, even now. "You thought what?" he says, and he is not letting me hide from this the way I hid from him. "I thought you would decide I was too much trouble," I finally say, the words tumbling out fast and messy, like they have been waiting behind my teeth for 3 days. "I thought if I was broken, if I could not fly right anymore, you would have to send me somewhere else. Somewhere they fix things like me. Somewhere I would not be I would just be a project again." The silence after I say it stretches long enough that I am afraid I have made everything worse. Then Daniel does something I did not expect. He laughs, but it is not a mean laugh. It is a broken, disbelieving sound, like the idea is so far from anything he has ever thought that it almost hurts to hear it out loud. "Listen to me," he says, and he takes my face gently between his hands, careful of my horns, careful of everything. "There is no version of this station, no version of this galaxy, where I decide you are too much trouble. Not for a cracked wing, not for falling off a ledge you were not supposed to climb, not for anything. But the paperwork," I say. "You fill out the forms, you tell them I am healthy, that there are no concerns. What happens when there are concerns?" His thumb brushes gently along the ridge of my jaw, and his voice drops even softer. "The forms exist so nobody else gets to make decisions about you except me," he says, "and you. When you are old enough, that is the entire point of every form I have ever filled out. Not to keep you approved, to keep you protected. Do you understand the difference?" I do not answer right away, because I am turning the words over, testing them against the fear that has lived in me since the moment I heard the crack in my wing 3 days ago. "I think so," I finally say. "Good," he says, and then his tone shifts, brisk and practical. The tone he uses when there is a real problem to solve, instead of a feeling to untangle. "Because right now, we are going to the medical bay, and you are going to let Dr. Priya look at that wing, and you are never, ever, going to hide something like this from me again. Deal?" "Deal," I say, and something in my chest loosens for the first time in 3 days. He lifts me carefully, one arm under my body, and the other supporting the broken wing so it does not shift. And even though it still hurts, even though every step jars something deep in the joint, I do not fight him. I let him carry me the way he did when I was small enough to fit inside his jacket, back when I did not yet understand what it meant to be afraid of losing someone. As we move through the corridor, past the crew quarters and the humming reactor lights, he speaks again, quieter now, like he wants only me to hear it. "You are not a project," he says. "You have never been a project. From the moment I picked up that egg out of a crate meant for disposal, you have been mine to raise, mine to worry about, mine to carry when you are hurt, and mine to catch when you fall. That does not change because something breaks. If anything, That is exactly when it matters most. I press my head against his shoulder, careful of the wing between us, and let myself believe him completely, the way I believe the floor beneath his boots, solid and certain, and built to hold both our weight. By the time we reach the medical bay, the fear that lived in me for 3 days has quieted into something else entirely, something warm and steady that settles into the space where the fear used to be. Dr. Priya examines the wing, explains that it will heal clean with proper treatment, and Daniel stays beside me through every scan, every careful adjustment, his hand resting on my back the whole time, like he has no intention of ever moving it. Later, back in our quarters, with my wing wrapped and resting, and the ache finally starting to fade, I curl against his side the way I used to before I learned to be afraid of things I did not need to fear. Next time, I tell him, I will show you right away. He smiles, tired but warm, and pulls the blanket a little higher over both of us. That is all I have ever wanted, he says. And for the first time in 3 days, I sleep without hiding anything at all.